there's this thing about just men in general. It's so unfortunate for us that you guys just get better looking the older you get. I was like, Dad, you're an old man now, and you're way better looking than you were in your 40s.
As a man, I am going to respectfully decline to comment on this because it'll only lead to my demise and my trouble. And I'm not trying to get Chris Harrison out here. So I'm just going to let you take the reins. I'm just looking at your sneeze face. This is like disturbing.
If I think my sneeze I think sneezes are weird because you can be on the verge of a very violent sneeze and someone's like, bless you. And then it's gone.
Yes. You can bless the sneeze away. Yeah. You can bless the sneeze away. Yeah. It's the most unreal thing. There are some things in this world that have no explanation. Blessing a sneeze away is number one. Number two is deja vu. I had so much deja vu with you in Switzerland the other day. It was unbelievable. It was crazy. I was like, I know for a fact that I have lived in this moment with you, and it was freaking weird.
You were kind of
Switzerland. We've never been there. I've never been.
Out. I do feel like deja vu can be like a really nice awareness moment. Like, is it real? I don't know. Is it your brain playing tricks on you? I don't know. But the way that I always take it is like, wow, I must be in the right place at the right time.
I like it. Let me ask you this. So we got back from Switzerland and Andermatt. For those of you who don't know, Andermatt is in the Swiss Alps. Boop. I want to ask you this because we really didn't break down the trip. We came home and things got so crazy. Which one did you like more, Zurich or Andermatt?
Ooh, good question. That's so different though, because one is, the Alps and you're in a town of 2,000 people. I think my speed is more Zurich. You still get that historical thing about it. And there's having access to things is something that I don't realize that I care about so much because I live in Orlando. So I can get anything that I want. But when you're in a town like that, which I never am, with less than 2,000 people, and you realize, wow, I really want Orange Monster. And the closest Orange Monster is like a 4-hour drive. It's too much. The Alps were so beautiful and so cool. But I'd say, the town itself of Zurich, the city, I guess, is so beyond what I expected. And I also knew we're flying in here, but Andermatt's the goal. So to be able to really love the interim place that much, I didn't expect that. And everyone's really good looking.
Cool. In Zurich, you thought so?
Yeah. You didn't think that?
It didn't strike me as the most beautiful place. I've been to Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam, hot. I was like, wow, everyone was good looking. Yeah, everyone was thin. But in Zurich, there was some heavier people. There were some weirdos. There's some other spots that we've been where I thought that the people were better than.
It was
Zurich.
Definitely more diverse than I thought. You saw all different kinds of walks of life, which was cool. My favorite part about Europe, and it's really such a whiff that America didn't take rail by the reins as hard as they did, is you can just go one place to another place to another, just bop around Europe so easily. It's so cheap. Why didn't we set up America like that? We have trains, but how many people, if you ask 10 people, how many of them have been on a train in America? I bet you get 3?
I actually kind of disagree with you.
Oh.
So
offended.
Yeah. So, I think that it's different, right? So Europe has a lot of cities that are very close and tight on top of each other, where in America, our cities are spread out, right? So Jacksonville is not close to Orlando. Orlando is not close to Miami, but they're all in the same state, right? So if you were to take a train, that train has to cover so much distance to get to the next place, the next kind of hot destination. But in Europe, we took the train from Zurich to Andermatt, and it stopped through Interlaken, Lucerne. It stopped through places where you would get off, right? But America is so big and so spread out that I don't know that trains really make sense, because you have to lay so much track just to get to your next place. Now in the Northeast, maybe, Boston, New York, DC, Philly, they're all kind of tight. But I would say that getting on a plane is, in my mind, most often a superior experience than getting on a train. I know it's controversial because trains are supposed to be cool and Europe is cool, but I would rather take a plane from Orlando to Miami and be there in, the flight is 40 minutes, plus you have to be at the airport an hour before, door to door, the experience is like 3 hours. Door to door on a train, 5 hours, right? And I don't know. I'm not as high on train travel as other people are. Also, if you have big suitcases, putting them up top is a nightmare, as you and I found out. We almost died on the train. So I don't know. I think I like flying, and flying is safer. It's more efficient, and you don't have to lay tracks and take up all this land too. You can just fly in the air and you're there.
I've always wanted to go on the Orient Express. It's so beautiful.
Cool.
It's so cool. It looks like a 5-star hotel. And as you guys know, or if you don't know, but we talked about it on the last episode, the Orient Express opened up again recently. So it opened originally in 1883, which is crazy. I just had to Google it to make sure I had the right date. But 1883, it ran, intermittently, like 1914, and then it started up again 5 years later and blah, blah, blah. But now it goes from Paris to Istanbul. That's far. You know what I mean? So just to be like, oh, it only goes short distances. If you were on a James Bond 5-star train, getting Michelin star food and watching the world pass you by, you would be opposed to that? You're thinking
I like bougie
train.
stuff. Which is trash. Yeah, it's total trash. And they crash.
I like an Amtrak.
Come on, girl. You just flew Delta One.
Someone's got to be negative on this pod. It's not me.
So it's not you. I did just look up. So in my mind, I think that America, maybe I don't like trains because a lot of our trains are slow, right? So they'll do 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, maybe get up to 80. And then I was like, maybe if the trains were high speed, I would like them more. So then I looked up, what is the fastest high speed train in the world? Do you know how fast it is?
Fast as hell, right? Like a high speed train is like 300. It's like 300 miles an hour? Question mark.
So the fastest recorded speed for a train was clocked at 357 miles per hour. So very good guess, Con, in 2007.
I know all about
now
trains.
That train isn't in now that train is not in regular service. So the fastest operational speed is actually in China, and that train operates at 288 miles per hour.
So cool.
Which that's fast. So if you were doing 200 miles an hour, great, right? Because you're going to get there. But if you're doing 60 miles an hour, I don't know. I would just drive. I have control of the radio, the temperature, could stop whenever I want. I don't know. I'm not that high on trains, as you can tell.
Obviously. Well, in other news, while we're talking about planes, there's something so funny that happened last week that we got to talk about. It happened in Utah. I don't know much about Utah, but this is just the funniest thing to me. This man is being investigated by the FBI because there was an incident where he allegedly took a picture of someone else's boarding pass to illegally board a Delta Airlines flight. So essentially, this girl is at the gate. She has her boarding pass pulled up. She's looking at it, Guy comes over her shoulder and takes a pic of her boarding pass, walks up in a boarding group ahead of her, and just boards the plane, puts his bag up, sits down, puts his headphones in, starts listening to Katy Perry. It's just crazy that that's even possible. They were like, yeah, go right in. Sounds good. And the flippancy at which they're like, cool, ticket, bye. I get it. But quite funny. And this guy was arrested before the plane took off. So he was arrested on one felony count of stowing away on a vessel or aircraft and faces a fine or no more than a 5-year sentence. And then it said, or both. So the surveillance footage shows him peeping over people's shoulders, taking pictures of their phones while they weren't looking. And then this poor, little Chica passenger was like trying to scan her ticket to get on the plane, and it said that she was already on board. So that's what really happened. But that is quite funny and actually very simple. Like, if you're going to do mastermind stuff at the airport, that's a really simple thing. And it just cracked me up. So he was not authorized to stay on board. It went back to the gate. He was escorted off the flight, and he's getting charged. And his comment was, "I made a mistake. I was only trying to get home." I just think that part of it's funny too.
Yeah. So another interesting tidbit to this is the song the girl was listening to as she got the picture snapped was "Firework" by Katy Perry. Spotify heard this and removed "Firework" from Spotify because it's too distracting.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I was just messing with you. Was that bad of a joke?
It was so disconnected.
You don't even get
that. Such a not well thought out joke.
Oh my God. I thought the joke had some good elements, right? So like you said she was listening to music and I was like, oh, perfect. Well, then I'll go with
I already said Katy Perry.
And you said Kate. I know, but then I dove into it to say, well, she was listening to "Firework," and then Spotify removed it because they heard what happened. Joke. You didn't like that joke?
What's way worse than a bad joke is then breaking
explaining a bad joke. Oh my God, I did it. Am I my dad? Oh my God, I can't believe this.
In your old age.
What is happening? Oh my God, the beard has a little salt and pepper now, and I'm breaking down my jokes. Well, as my co-host, you could have did me a solid and like went along with the joke instead of being like, that joke was bad.
Terrible.
Dude,
Speaking
what?
Of salt
Next
and pepper,
time you try to do a joke, I'm gonna kill your joke.
Well, my jokes are funny, so it's different. Speaking of salt and pepper, I was laughing because I saw my dad. Was that last night? I don't even know. All the days blur together. I just went back to Jacksonville for my brother's birthday, and I hung out with my dad. And he showed me a picture of him when he was like, I think he was like 45 or something. He's like, "Oh, this is a fun picture from me back in the day." And I look at it and I go, you were not cute. And he was like, "Excuse me?" And I was like, "You're 67 years old and you're cuter now than you were in this picture when you were 45. I was like, there's this thing about just men in general, and so unfortunate for us, that you guys just get better looking the older you get." I was like, "Dad, you're an old man now and you're way better looking than you were in your 40s. It's super unfair."
It doesn't happen that way for all dudes, but I know what you're saying. But yeah, women do have it bad because at 35, we're thinking about like swapping you
for
guys
two
out.
20s. Yeah, and then
for 220, we don't need one. 40, we need two.
220s. Simple math. But yeah, it's so sad because people would see my dad that they knew when he was 50 and be like, "Dang, Phil still got it." And like, people don't do that with women. People aren't like, "Oh my God, she's so much better looking now than when she was 30. It's so sad.
Yeah. You know what? As a man, I am going to respectfully decline to comment on this because it'll only lead to my demise and my trouble. And I'm not trying to get Chris Harrison out here. So I'm just going to let you take the reins.
What happened with Chris Harrison? No, I'm just kidding.
No, we're not going there.
Let's talk about
some parts of the pod. Like today during our podcast meeting, we have a production meeting. We don't just willy-nilly. I know it sounds like we do, but we do have a podcast production meeting, and we went down a topic that was
dicey.
We won't go down the topic. It was dicey, but I will say, if you want to do something interesting, look up the websites with the most traffic. No. And there are some, the most popular websites
just
in the world. Look up the most popular websites in the world, and you'll see that some, like Amazon, which I thought, of course it's going to be in the top 20. There's some that have more website traffic than Amazon that would be shocking to you. So if you want to give it a quick Google, it's definitely entertaining.
Grandma, don't do it.
Oh yeah, Nanny, do not do this. If our grandmothers are our most loyal fans, Nanny and Grandma,
Just
it's
trust
Connie,
us
right?
that the first one is Googled. And that's
Just
all you
trust
need
us.
to know.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Perfect.
Anyways, I think talking about that Utah man is enough for this one. You guys, sorry we're traveling so much. The episodes are here and there at the moment, which is good. That means business is booming. But all these trips are just going to give us more funny stories to tell on the pod. So if you have anything you want us to talk about, just email hello@travelnerds.co or follow us on Instagram @travelnerdspod. And other than that, you got anything else, Kenny? Anything else crazy and controversial you want to say?
No, just do not go to the 12th ranked website. No, that's just funny.
Later, nerds.